Hey, what's up you guys, it's Kurt here. Are we heading for a hyperinflation? If you've been following the news, we seem to be heading in a direction of potentially devaluating the dollar. And the question seems ever so relevant if we can use cryptocurrencies, such as Bitcoin or other, to protect ourselves from hyperinflation. This is what we're going to be talking about today, and specifically, I'll go over 3 pieces of information. Number 1, it is an article from the Telegraph about crypto seizing the opportunity of the pandemic. Number 2, I'll cover a paper from Johns Hopkins on the coronavirus and the case for digital money. As you know, if you've been watching my channel, I always like to look at what the academics are publishing. And lastly, make sure you stay until the end because I've saved the best for last. I'm going to dissect what Chamath, the ex-Facebook executive and a billionaire, owner of approximately 5% of all the Bitcoin, is advising us to do regarding Bitcoin. And by the way, I do not want this to be a one-sided discussion, so if you have an opinion on any of the things that we're talking about today, feel free to drop your thoughts down in the comment section. So let's talk about it. Alright, so unlike our paper dollars, which can be printed quickly by the Fed, currencies like Bitcoin can't. There is a finite limit to how many Bitcoins can be mined, and that is exactly 21 million Bitcoins. This means Bitcoin can be thought of similar to gold, limited in supply, but it's just digital. And if the demand for crypto like Bitcoin goes up while there is a limited supply, naturally you will get higher price per Bitcoin. If you've been watching the news lately, you know that US and other major countries, central banks specifically, are printing a lot of cash to help with patching up those economies. What you see from the Federal Reserve providing trillions of dollars of stimulus, basically printing a lot of cash, that has consequences. And the consequences are that US is increasing its debt of trillions of dollars that will probably never be paid off. At the same time, the dollar will likely lose its value and we may see hyperinflation. And this is actually what triggered me to make the video today, which is look at crypto as the safe haven for people who are sick and tired of the current financial system. So the point of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, for example, is ultimately to be independent of what governments are doing, to have a decentralized currency that cannot be printed easily by the government and thus giving back power to the people. Let's take a look at an interesting article published by the Telegraph. And before we actually do that, make sure to hit that like button because if you appreciate this content, this would greatly help me out. And more importantly, it is the only way to let other people know about this video. YouTube's algorithm needs a lot of likes in order to show this video to others, so I appreciate you supporting this. Now, back to the article. I'm just going to go through this article and highlight some of the important pieces here. So for example, number 1, in this paragraph, the author says Bitcoin's safe haven narrative may have taken a hit during the last month. And what he means here is that we witnessed Bitcoin actually followed the market downturn. So as the S&P, as the Dow fell sharply, similar thing happened with Bitcoin. I mean, the Bitcoin price really fell also dramatically. And this is precisely the moment it was created for. That's what he says. And in a rising generation of millennial investors who have now watched the legacy system fail, he says it's basically crystallizing the situation and the importance of having a cryptocurrency. So more and more people are thinking that they cannot trust the current financial system. What happened back in 2008 is about to happen again. Namely, the bailouts and stimulus money is going to those big companies and the rest actually getting screwed. Ultimately, the taxpayers' money is going to sponsor these big corporations which were not properly managed, which were increasingly accumulating debt. So, the second piece here, stable coins like Tether may seem ironically a better alternative to storing US dollars in a bank account, as Bank of America recently instituted withdrawal limits and it's reportedly hassling clients to tap into their full credit lines. And what is worse is now that some people who are getting their $1,200 stimulus checks as direct deposit to their bank accounts, not confirmed yet for all banks, but the banks may actually withhold that money if there is a pending debt to be paid. I think this would be really nasty, and it again paints a picture of bad financial practices by banks. Now, this is not confirmed if it's legally okay, and I'm not saying all the banks are doing it, but if they would actually do that, they would be basically screwing the regular people, and we're at the mercy, again, of the big institutions. I really think we need a digital, decentralized, widely adopted currency. By the way, if you want to read the whole article, it's really good. I'm just going to highlight one more piece, basically the end paragraph here. And it says, crypto's foundation is built upon an ever-reducing trust in the legacy financial system. That system has exposed its faults once again, and while there is still a ways to go for the broader crypto industry to appeal to the mainstream, the current macro narrative has never been more conducive to the sector's eventual success. Now, it's about seizing the opportunity. Indeed, I fully agree that we need to seize the opportunity, and perhaps the one good thing that can come out of this crisis is to accelerate the adoption of cryptocurrency. Now, as you know, I always like to dig into what the academics are saying, and on this topic I found an interesting paper by Johns Hopkins. It is not talking about hyperinflation and the need for crypto from that perspective, but rather the necessity to turn into digital currencies to help prevent pandemics. So more of a health perspective on the issue, which I thought was quite interesting. So the authors discuss the pros of adopting government-issued digital currencies. They say the pro is to get rid of paper money and coinage. A ubiquitous medium for spreading germs is highlighted by the recent coronavirus outbreak. They do suggest 3 different policies. They have 3 recommendations, which I thought were quite interesting. If you want to dig further into this paper, you'll find quite some interesting facts. I'll give you just a sneak peek of the opening paragraph here that says, money is dirty, surfaces of banknotes can be laden with harmful bacteria. They enumerate things like E. coli, influenza viruses, yeast, fungi, cocaine and heroin. So the recent coronavirus outbreak that originated in Wuhan, China, has put a new emphasis on disease transmission through paper money. People's Bank of China announced mid-February 2020 its new measures disinfecting and destroying cash to help reduce the spread of the coronavirus. This begs the question, does the latest coronavirus outbreak make yet another case for digital money? So in other words, we have another aspect to consider why crypto would be good, separate from the financial considerations. Now let's talk about Chamath and what he advises people to do when it comes to investing in Bitcoin. By the way, if you do not know who Chamath is, check out his wiki page. He's a former Facebook executive, he's a billionaire, and he's the CEO of Social Capital. He owns about 5% of all the Bitcoin out there. So I want to show you 2 specific videos of Chamath being interviewed, and I want to build it up to the second one here, which holds the meat of what we're going to be talking about today. The first one is an interview back in 2018 when he was cornered by the CNBC anchors on Squawk Box, where they showed him some of the interviews they've done with Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, Bill Gates, basically talking about Bitcoin in a negative way. They say it's not a good asset because it's not creating anything. Charlie Munger called it a scumball, while Bill Gates said he would short it if he could. Bitcoin, that is. And in response to that, which I really liked, Chamath said they're all wrong. He explained that they're known to invest only in things they understand. Warren Buffett has been all over the media. He's been saying invest in a few things that you do understand. And in this case, they do not fully understand crypto. I intentionally mentioned this video because I want to use it as the bridge to my next video I want to show you about Chamath being interviewed on the Pomp Podcast. He talks about what he thinks about Bitcoin in the context of the recession and the coronavirus outbreak. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to play the video and the podcast here in my video, so I'm just gonna give you kind of what are his major points that he talks about Bitcoin in the podcast. So in the interview, he says that Bitcoin is still a speculative instrument. It is too speculative for it to be reliable. And to replace the fiat currency, he says, you need to compare both and really understand what is the difference in terms of volatility. Bitcoin is 9 sigma more volatile than the dollar. And this is the reason why Bitcoin cannot replace traditional currency. He explains that if you have 2,000 basis points moves in a half an hour period, that is the volatility of Bitcoin, you cannot effectively use it as the way you would traditional currency. And the real important comment he makes also is that volatility pushes the Bitcoin to, and I quote here, this ghetto of day traders and speculators. And right now, that's where we are. We are in the ghetto. So the way to get out of the ghetto, he suggests two things: to flush the speculators and day traders out, and also you need to have some sort of an incentive, some sort of introduce interest to those people who are long-term holders of crypto. Chamath says that Bitcoin is a way to hedge against what could happen in the future, and everyone's got about a 10-year sort of horizon to diversify into crypto. Bitcoin to him is a very binary kind of investment where it's all or nothing, so it may be worth $0 or it may be worth million. It could create a quasi-gold standard, so instead of having to own gold, you may be better off owning a cryptocurrency as an instrument that holds value, and that value is determined between the participants. So you are actually placing a bet. Investing in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, you are placing a bet, albeit that bet now seems kind of like closer to being real because of everything that is happening and potentially the hyperinflation that we're hitting. In summary, before we were kind of speculating that there is a 1% chance that Bitcoin would be valuable. Now we're actually talking and looking at maybe Bitcoin having about 5 or 10% chance of being valuable. So that's quite a change. And I think the Fed and all the central banks printing money is pushing barriers and potentially driving to a hyperinflation, ultimately making the case for crypto or decentralized currency much stronger. So more and more people want that. More and more people are looking into cryptocurrencies as the way out from the current regime. I personally view owning crypto as a hedge to the traditional financial structure, almost like buying an insurance. And to me, it is a way to diversify a portfolio. Not to trade Bitcoins, not to be a trader, but have some as a means to diversify. So thanks very much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to destroy the like button. That's the only way other people will find this video. And if you found it useful, chances are other people will find it useful too. Share the link with a friend or a family member or anybody that will find it helpful. And if it's your first time landing on my channel, make sure to subscribe for more videos on investing, personal finance, and cryptocurrencies. I'll be expanding my crypto playlist with more videos, so make sure to hit the bell notification icon so you do not miss any of those. Meanwhile, check out all my other playlists. That's all from me today. Until next time, stay the course and diversify.